Hi. Oh, let's step back here a little bit. Welcome to No Construction. I didn't forget about last week's deal, September 11th Commissioner's Court. I just didn't have time till now. I'll be doing last week's and today's. So, uh, alright, so last week's. A few weeks ago, this court said people are costing more than they are paying. Yet just last week, plats were approved. Plats, plots. What really it is a spot they're going to sell to a construction company so that that construction company can then be authorized and paid for by American tax dollars to build shit. That's going to then increase the taxes. Yeah, I mean, it is quite literally the definition of a racket. You know, the court acknowledges a problem, meaning they know, but still perpetuates it. I fail to understand. Uh, Alright, so I forgot to save my corrections, but it's just going to end up being more construction elected officials will spend our taxes on. I say again, it's dumb to spend our taxes on things that increase those taxes. A solution previously mentioned by Mr. Kavalaugh is worth mentioning again. Instead of spending our taxes in a way that raises them, how about using that money to pay off our debt? Doing this won't increase our taxes and with more needless construction and take care of the debt will lower the taxes. Besides, I don't care what excuse Wilco wants to sell me. Too often these contractors ask for more money outside of original contract and it's always approved. This behavior is reckless. I expressed 2 weeks in a row how I've become poor due to this court in every city and Wilco's spending behavior. More roads, more paying taxes on, and all that other happy horse stuff. There's elderly and younger alike that have to choose between medication to keep them alive or food. Basically, they're picking how they want to suffer a slow death. With a straight face, this court asks Wilco citizens to guide them, and every so often thanks veterans and responders. It's a load, and I'm not buying it. With all the construction adding people, it's pushing people willing to put up with with Wilco elected official shenanigans and sucking in those who won't. And it's the same people that made California and New York the mess it is today. Simply put, our politicians are poisoning us and depleting our antidote. What makes it worse is I'm somehow in the wrong for not accepting these fibs. If any elected official could make sense of this, I won't show up for a month. You, politicians of Wilco, won't be in those seats forever. And if you think for a second wherever you're planning to won't be the same as the mess you're forcing us to deal with, won't be there too, you're sorely mistaken. I think I stopped right there. But it goes on. I would have made the same mistakes, but if I did, uh, this would be the point in time to start sowing a better crop. Your time is nearly gone. I mean, people are done with it. It's going to lead to riots. It's repeating history, and worse yet, recent history. I don't, you know. Okay, so for this week's speech. Uh, Last couple of weeks, I spoke about how local politicians' actions are raising our taxes, literally giving some people a death sentence. Some citizens are having to choose how they're going to die, starve or go without life-saving medication, adding to their everyday stress they can't escape, which can lead to even more health problems. Personally, I'll be essentially thrown to the streets if this continues. I've become so poor due to politicians' actions raising taxes I can't afford a haircut. Yeah, this buzz cut and shaved head, whatever you want to call it, is not my exact choice. It's a few years ago I could no longer afford, not including tip. I think the best deal I could find on a haircut was $15. I think that's reasonable. Just because I can't afford it, I don't think doesn't necessarily mean I think it's expensive. But I stopped getting haircuts. because I couldn't afford that $15. And I imagine they're probably around 20 right now. And you know, and I know I'm not in the only boat. Uh, there's a lot of people in my situation worse, and I'm not just talking about people who are literally homeless. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch more places coming up in Wilco where, oh, $50 is their fairest choice in a haircut cost. Um, I can't afford a haircut, let alone uh, shoes or anything more expensive. Yeah, pretty much for 8 years I've been wearing the same pair of boots because I can't afford anymore. I can't afford shoes, so it's not like, oh well, buy cheaper shoes. Well, those shoes at Walmart, they eat your feet, you know, and yeah, I can't afford a foot problem. I have enough health issues going on, and then there's the some things I have to buy that are over the counter to help with my pain. They're not uh, pain alleviators. I'm not talking Tylenol, Aleve, or anything that is remotely like that. It's just certain stuff that. All right, I don't know what happened. All right, and we're back. Dinosaur story. Uh, it just, yeah, they're not advertised as pain, but for some reason they help me manage the pain that I have because of VA. I'm not going to go into that. It's not what this channel's for, but it, they work better than opioids. And when I take opioids, uh, uh, you know, I get nothing but a buzz, and the health things that come up with it, the damage of liver, kidneys, what have you, and the other stuff. So there's minimal pain alleviation when I take opioids. So why am I going to take them? It's just going to deplete my health even more. Plus the addiction and yeah. Well, we're not going to go down that road, but yeah. Uh, let alone shoes or anything more expensive, including cell phones. Yeah, I literally can't afford even a prepay. You know, even if I already had the phone, all right, and it was 30. What I guess would amount to around $10 a month. I can't afford that. I think I'll talk about it next week. But I get $600 a month. All right, due to physical conditions, I cannot work, or at least anything that will keep me hired. Uh, so I can't stand on my feet for long periods, and that's the only jobs available. I'm not morally or anything uh, lazy about it. It's just I might be able to push my way through 8 hours, but after that, I'll need a whole bunch of rest. I'm going to be in a whole bunch of pain. With really pushing myself, I might be able to get through 2 days, but that'll be my limit. And then I'll have to sit all the time. I'll be practically needing to lay down and curl up in a ball and cry about it because I'm in that much pain. And I get fired, 4 or 5 times or more. Well, let's say I get fixed, or whatever my ailment is, it's solved. Okay. Well, is it, let's have the sixth employer, potential employer, look at my work history. I'll go, oh, you didn't work for a decade. And you were fired several times. Yeah, no. I won't even have a chance of getting an interview. Or I could go out and keep trying to get myself fixed up. And they go, oh, well, why haven't you worked for 15 years? Oh, yeah, I had some health issues. I took care of it. And I'm ready to go and to be a productive member of society. You know, But yeah, $600. All right, I have to put away $470 a month for taxes, and my taxes are on the low end of the scale. There's people that are, I think that uh, most people are, I don't know what the average is, but most people are paying $6,000 or more a year in taxes. Some are paying $10,000 or more. I think a lot of that has to do with school taxes and our debt, and I don't see why I should. I think school taxes should be an option because these kids are idiots. I think because they know more than their one, two, threes, ABCs, and their basic colors, you know, anything beyond that, they're so smart. You know, they're, they're teaching kids what to think, and it's not much. So, school taxes should be an option. Uh, so that leaves me with 130 a month to do whatever. All right, besides taxes, that's bills, food, uh, whatever I feel I need, and that's like $1,560 somewhere around. No, I think it's 1,005. Yeah, 1,000. Yeah, 1,560. I didn't do the math in my head. I know I sort of look like that, but I just seen that number a lot. Uh, so yeah, it's to do with food and anything not to do with taxes. I don't. That's. I think that's barely minimum wage for 1 month. Just to let you know where I'm at. I'm not making this stuff up. I'm not blowing my money on cigarettes or anything like that, or alcohol, or some drug den or something. you know, I'm so poor. I can't afford drugs. That's, you know. All right. But I didn't. So, where to say? Anything more expensive? About a decade ago, I was receiving a good bit less than I am now from the VA. It was like 400 or 500 bucks. But didn't have this problem. Only when certain politicians were elected did these problems start for us. If we have to go elsewhere, provided we could afford to do so, we can't. Our ranch will no doubt be paved soon after. No farms, no food. Some solutions I'm willing to offer will save lives and crops and spend less. For spending less, I definitely going to talk about this next month. That's if spending any money at all. I think it's going to cost the county and cities more in time than anything else. And I'd be considering it, putting up for a vote, getting on ballot, all that heavy horse stuff. Because I don't want to, you know, make this decision unilaterally, even if I could, and politicians shouldn't either. And they're not wanting to do it because it'll actually be helping residents. You know, can't have that. But yeah, for $100,000, all right, you can buy 3 to 4 of the uh, top of the line. They're not even out yet. 3D printers, and you can recycle that material. All right, so if they're $10,000, why only 3 or 4? Well, if you consider the cost of electricity and paying somebody to manage those machines, then they can be paid a living wage. You know, and the prosthetics would be free. Oh, that's what the machines would be used for, and mainly kids, adults too, but kids I think would take priority, and they could have prosthetics printed. All right, they probably won't work as good as handmade or anything like that, but they can get a more custom job and appearance within reason, faster. And kids growing like weeds. I mean, I know one kid that grew 2 inches in 1 month. I'm sure some grew faster. It's still probably on the high end. But when they're growing that fast, then their prosthetic's not going to fit properly. Then they need a new one. Well, really, who can afford to spend $1,000 every so often a year, uh, especially on a prosthetic. It can't be done. So they'll probably have to go without for a bit, and that's horrible. You know, and if they so choose, that prosthetic, or at least parts of it, can be recycled. Uh, but this court, but solutions I offered save lives and crops and spend less. But this court and every Wilco City Council would rather have pavement and do things that only benefit companies and not residents. If that is their desired direction, why, on what's left of God's green earth, are our taxes being used to pay them? There is a best of a bad situation option. If I was in those seats, I doubt I would have came up with it. It's like a third point of person point of view deal. You know, honor the current contracts on our end with whoever has the contracts, but say no to the construction costing us more in the long run. Spending more money outside of the original agreed contract, and not able to afford it. Developers won't have to do any work. I highly doubt they'll say no. Don't honor the contract on our end. We may never get a contractor again when we actually need one. Yes, we'll be paying for nothing. At the same time, we won't have our taxes increased due to more roads and buildings and more money lost to new residents, which is another thing I fail to understand. If this court says if, as this court says, citizens are costing more than they're paying in taxes, where's the benefit to all while making room we can't afford and adding further strain on our responders? Wilco should stop supporting city councils that perpetuate these problems. There's a city I live next to that's getting a sixth uh, gas station, and Wilco another rock quarry, as if we don't have enough of those. Yeah, the city I live next to is going to have six gas stations, and out of the times I've used those gas stations, I've never had to wait more than a few minutes, and I only had to wait a few minutes because it was just that pump that was easy to get into. Uh, yeah, so the waiting was on my fault, and even with the mass increase of people, I've never really had to wait for a gas pump. I guess that covers it. All right, thanks for watching.